Hello, Year 2, and welcome to today's phonics lesson. How did you get on in the last lesson? Were you able to decide whether you needed to add the suffix est or you needed to add most before the adjective to make the superlative adjectives? Fantastic. Well done if you did. And I was really impressed with the children who sent their work in because it really looked like you understood what you were doing. So well done. Now, before we start today's lesson, we're going to do Are You Ready? Okay, so shout the different sounds to your screen. Let's go. Wow, well done, Year 2. You really know your sounds, don't you? I can hear you all the way from here. Now, before we start our lesson today, we are going to be looking at these pictures. But before we do, can you remember what a suffix is? Yes, that's right. A suffix is when we add a letter or a group of letters to the end of a word and it makes a new word. So the other day we were looking at the suffix est and how we can add it to adjectives to make superlative adjectives when we compare 3 or more objects. So there's a village and they are having a show, okay? Now the judges need a little bit of help. They don't know which vegetable and fruit and vegetable, which cake, which flower and which dog to choose. And they would like your help. They would like you to give reasons for your choice, okay, using the suffix est. So you need to create some superlative adjectives to describe why you think that one should win. Okay, you don't need to write anything down, but if you either have a chat to the person you're with, or you can just think about it yourself. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, pause the video now. Okay, how did you get on? Were you able to tell the judges which one you thought would win using the suffix est, using superlative adjectives? Fantastic. So I thought of a few. I thought that in the fruit and vegetable competition, the pineapple should win because it is the juiciest. But then again, the broccoli, maybe the broccoli should win because the broccoli is the greenest, isn't it? But then I felt a bit sorry for the aubergine and I thought the aubergine should win because it is the largest. Now, the cake competition, this one was a bit easier for me. I thought number 3 should win because it looks like it is the yummiest cake and it is definitely the prettiest cake as well. I definitely think cake number 1 should not win because cake number 1 looks like the blandest. Do you know what bland means? Yes, right. It's something that doesn't have much taste. Now, the flower competition. Again, I found this one quite tricky because I thought number 1 should win because the rose is the reddest. I thought number 2 should win because the sunflower is the biggest flower. And I thought number 3 should win because it is the prettiest flower. So I had a bit of trouble with that one. And I also had a bit of trouble with the dog show because I thought maybe the first one should win because it is the smallest. The second one should win because it is the cutest. And the third one should win because it is the biggest. So there you go. Look how many superlative adjectives we can make from all these pictures. You might have thought of some different reasons, but well done. Fantastic. Now, just to recap what we did last lesson, I want you to decide if you need to add the suffix est or you need to add most to these words, to these adjectives, okay? So pause the video now and write them down. Okay, should we see if you're right? So the first one, exciting. Now, how many syllables does exciting have? Let's clap together. 3, 2, 1, exciting. Oh, it has 3. So therefore, you need most in front of it, most exciting. Now, the next one, soft. How many syllables does that have? 3, 2, 1, soft. Oh, only 1. So therefore, you need to add the suffix est, softest. Now, the next one, old. How many syllables does this have? 3, 2, 1, old. Oh, only 1 again. So therefore, you add the suffix est, oldest. And the last one, frightening. Now, this is a long word. Should we see how many syllables this has? 3, 2, 1, frightening. Oh, there you go. It has 3. So therefore, we need to add most before the adjective to make most frightening. Okay, now you didn't think it was just that easy, did you? We don't just always add est on the end. There are some rules where we have to change the original word before we add the suffix est. Okay, so today we're going to be learning about 2 of them, and next lesson we'll learn about the 3rd. Okay, so the first rule now, these are for words that end in an e. So words like cute, brave, nice. Now, before you add the est, the suffix est, you need to drop the e. Okay, so look at the example. We have brave. Now, brave turns into bravest, not bravest below it, because look, can you see the bravest below it? We've kept the e and we've also added the suffix est. It looks a bit strange, doesn't it? So you need to make sure that you drop the e, get rid of the e before you add the suffix est. Okay, now rule number 2. Now, we had this rule the other day when we were making adverbs. If the word ends in a y, then you change the y into an I, and then you add the est. So let's look at our example. We have lonely, okay, the adjective lonely. And look, I've changed the y to an I, and then I've added est. It's not like underneath where it says loneliest, but I've kept the y. That doesn't look right, does it? So you need to make sure, rule number 1, if it ends in an e, get rid of the e, and then you add the suffix. And with rule number 2, if it ends in a y, like happy or merry, you change the y to an I, and then you add the suffix est, okay? So you need to remember those. So let's apply this to some words, okay? So we've got large, pretty, wise, and happy, okay? Think of the 2 rules we've just learnt about. I'd like you to pause the video and see if you can change these into superlative adjectives by adding the suffix est, okay? Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, should we see how you got on? So the first one, large. Now, what does large end in? Does it end in an e or a y? Yes, that's right, it ends in an e. So therefore, we need to drop the e and add the suffix est to make largest. Now, we've only got 1 e, haven't we? Because we dropped the e. We don't want to have 2 e's there. Now, number 2, pretty. Now, this is a bit confusing because the other day I said about the syllables. Now, words that end in y normally have 2 syllables, but we apply the same rules, okay? So we just add the est. It's only if they have more syllables, which they normally don't, where we change it to the most. So for the words ending in y, we need to add the suffix est, okay, even though they're 2 syllables. Now, pretty ends in a y. Now, what did we do to the y? Yes, that's right, we changed it to an I, didn't we? To make it prettiest. Now, number 3, wise. Oh, now wise ends in an E, doesn't it? And what did we have to do if it ended in an E? Tell the screen. Yes, that's right, we have to get rid of the E before we add the suffix est. So there we go, we've got wisest. And number 4, we've got happy. Ooh, what does happy end in? Yes, that's right, it ends in a Y. So we have to change the Y to an I to make happiest. Well done if you got all of those right, fantastic. Now, here I've written some sentences. Now, I'm not convinced they're all correct. I think some of them are, but I'm not sure about other ones. So what I'd like you to do is look through my sentences and decide if they're correct or if they're incorrect. And if they're incorrect, can you change them for me? That would be really helpful. Okay, so pause the video now and have a look at my sentences. Okay, let's have a look. What did you think? So my first sentence, my dog is the cutest dog in the world. Now, I've used the adjective cute there, which ends in an E. Now, what was the rule when a word ended in E? Ah, yes, that's right. We needed to get rid of the E, didn't we, before we added the suffix S. I forgot about that. So that is wrong. And we need to have the cutest instead. Just the 1 E, because we dropped one of the E's, didn't we? Right, I understand now. Let's do the next one. My brother is the funniest person I know. Well, funny is our adjective and it ends in a Y. And yes, I changed my Y to an I. So there we go. That one's correct. What about the next one? I am the bravest person in my family. Now, brave is the adjective and it ends in an E. And I only have 1 E there, so I dropped the E and I added the suffix S. So that one's correct. Now, Friday is my busiest day of the week. Now, busy is my adjective here. And what did I need? Oh, I've forgotten what I needed to do when a word ended in a Y. Do you remember? Oh, yes, that's right. I changed the Y to an I, don't I? Now, so that is wrong because busiest does not look right, does it? And why is that? It's because I haven't changed the Y to an I. So it should be busiest, like that. Now it's your turn, okay? On your worksheet, which is Year 2 Phonics 4th to January resource, there are some different adjectives, okay? And you have a table. You need to decide which rule you need to follow with each word and write it in the table. So if it ends in a Y and therefore you need to change it to an I, or if it ends in an E and you need to drop the E before you add the suffix est, okay? So you need to decide which column does it go in, and then you need to change the words to superlative adjectives for me. Then after that, I'd like you to choose 2 of the superlative adjectives from each group. So 2 where they ended in a Y and you changed it to an I, and 2 where it ended in E and you dropped the E before you added the suffix, okay? And I want you to write 2 sentences, okay? So choose 2 words from the column where you had to change the Y to an I, and 2 from the column where you had to drop the E, and write a sentence for each, okay? Brilliant, Year 2. Right, are you ready to learn about the third rule in the next lesson? I'm sure you'll be great. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in our next phonics lesson. Bye, Year 2.